everybody. It is Wednesday. No, it's not. It's Thursday. We had to take a whole new kind of detour because of my travels. I'm up in Weyburn, Saskatchewan, getting ready to do a Junior A event tonight to raise some money for a Junior A team up here, the Weyburn Red Wings. It's Snipes and Stripes right here on nofilter.net. I am Jeremy Roenick and my good friend Tim Peel in St. Louis. Peelsy, how we doing this week?
I'm good, buddy. Hey, a lot of good Saskatchewan boys out of the great province of Saskatchewan. Man, there was some. You had Twister, Chaser, you had Kevin Kaminsky. You had some tough boys, Kosher, Melrose, but you also had a lot of talented players came. A lot of hockey players out of the province of Saskatchewan. But
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting place. I don't know if anybody's ever been up here in Saskatchewan, but it is very flat. It is very windy. I don't see very many trees, and it's cold. And I will tell you, the people here are fantastic. They're great. They're very accommodating. They're extremely hockey crazed. And this is also where Mike Medano went to play his junior hockey. He played in Prince Albert, and for a guy from Detroit to to come up to Prince Albert to play hockey, you're dedicated, and that's what Mike Medano did. So we can thank Saskatchewan for probably molding who I think was the best American hockey player ever. I think you might have a different attitude or different opinion, but Mike Medano was that guy for me, Tim.
so you're telling me Saskatchewan or Weyburn, Saskatchewan, the weather's not as nice as San Diego right now?
Well, the sun's out. That's the only.
How cold is it, JR? Because it's 75 here in St. Louis. Like, how cold is it?
You know what? It's I think everywhere still the winters come later,
Yeah.
right? I would say maybe 10 years ago it would be 30 degrees here. It's probably 40, 39 to 39 degrees here. But for me, coming from San Diego, it's cold. And that wind will come through you. And even though I don't spend any time up here in the summer, they tell me that the mosquitoes look like pterodactyls up here. Like
Well,
literally.
yeah, they're the size of crows up there. The mosquitoes, they'll carry you away. Well, listen, you can have some good Canadian beer tonight, okay? None of that U.S. stuff that's 4% alcohol. You're going to get real beer or whiskey or whatever you decide to drink. Speaking of that, why don't you tell us about your whiskey?
Yeah, as you see on top of the screen, it's Whiskey in the Wild, whiskeyinthewild.com, the best chocolate and chocolate orange whiskey of all time. I created it so that there is no pucker and no burn. It'll be the best thing you ever have. So do your best to get out there, whiskeyinthewild.com, and get your whiskey today. Thanks for all your support.
Buddy, you either A, have to send me some, or B, we got to get this in Missouri. We need it in
It's
St.
coming. It's coming. It's a slow roll when you work with whiskey, you work with spirits, you work with alcohol. It's such a hard business, the United States, because everything's so regulated. Every single state is literally like its own country
Right.
as far as that stuff goes. So it's just crazy. It really is.
Well, thank you to Protected Neck Guards. We're protecting young players in Canada and the U.S. from hopefully any serious injuries. Also, BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during the games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our 200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread every week for your chance at weekly prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today to get in on the action. Bet online. The game starts here, buddy.
Yes, I love it. I love it. So, first off,
Well, before
yeah,
before we get into hockey, I think Canadian politics are as screwed up as us in the U.S. because I'm watching. They're saying Trudeau's going to step down. Yeah, I'm watching clips. It's a shit show up there, like it is in our country. But so if I hear anybody trying to give me political advice in the U.S., I think you might want to take care of your own. And
I
we've got
don't know. I don't know who's worse, Biden or Trudeau. The crazy thing is, I think maybe Trudeau, because Trudeau dumb things as Biden, but Trudeau knows he's doing it. So,
Joe didn't know he was doing
huh?
it. Well, we are less than 2 weeks away till the election. So, and you know what? No matter what happens, I'm just going to be glad when it's done because I'm tired of hearing about it. I'm tired of reading about it. I'm tired of everything about it. And let's just move on and hopefully unite as a country, buddy.
Yeah, we have to. I mean, we have to. That's. I'm really nervous. I'm really scared, to tell you the truth. I know we're not going political, but I think our whole country relies on this vote. I think there's such crazy shit that has happened that, um, geez, if she gets into power, man, this might be the last election that we have. They might try to change all the rules, all of them. It's crazy.
Well, listen, what is the biggest surprise to you? Is it Winnipeg being 6-0 or Nashville being 1-5?
I think Nashville being 1-5 is a bigger. I think
I
obviously with Clutterbuck, with Hellebuck up there in Winnipeg, having being one of the best goaltenders. They had a good year last year too. They're well coached. Nashville having picked up Stamkos, Marchand, obviously the seasons that they had last year, I actually picked them to be something, something of maybe Stanley Cup caliber.
I
I actually picked them to be one of my sleeper picks to start the year. And wouldn't I have looked good if they went on to the Stanley Cup final and we picked it in September? But holy hell, are they bad? Like it's pretty embarrassing, to tell you the truth. And I don't know what the problem is. What could be the problem there? They have a solid goaltender.
they got a
They
great
have
goalie.
what?
They got a great goalie.
They have a solid goaltender. They have one of the best defensemen in the game. They have great leadership in Stamkos, O'Reilly, Philip Forsberg. I mean, they have some severe guns. Maybe they should go. Maybe they should plan to go to the Sphere and go to U2 again and
Cancel it.
cancel it. I
Going,
don't know what's going on with them.
you know what? I don't know. It's hard to look at when you see the Central Division. They're in last place behind Chicago. Do you know there's in the history of the NHL, and this is hard to believe. I read it the other day. No team that has ever started 0-5 has made the playoffs. That stat blew me away. I couldn't believe it. No team that started 0-5 has ever made the playoffs.
Wow, that's
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 unbelievable.
unbelievable.
Now they've got the guns to do it. They've got the horses to do it. Is it you know what it's like, and maybe it was different for you, but I saw it with different players around the league. It sometimes takes them a year before they get comfortable with their new team. Is it taking Stamkos longer? Is it taking Marchand so longer? Like I don't know. Uh, you
Hold
know,
on a second. That might be the case if you're someplace that's maybe not so much fun to play. Maybe, but not being comfortable in Nashville,
right?
not being comfortable in a beautiful place to live, beautiful people, a great team in front of you. Um, I no, I if that's the case, then these people are really are not the people we thought they were. I mean, Steven Stamkos, we wouldn't expect him to have a lull moving to another team. You
No,
would think he would have that killer mentality to be where I'll show you. Marchand too, the way he was treated in Vegas disrespectfully, which led for him leaving.
right.
You would think he would go in there because Marchand got a little bit of bite, a little bit of bite, a lot of bite, and a lot of pride. You would think he'd be going there and say, "I'll show you," but we're not seeing anything like that. And this start by them is literally, it's unbelievable to me.
Well, the good news is for Nashville and their fans, they're in Chicago tonight, and then they're in Columbus, or they're in Chicago. I'm sorry, tomorrow, and in Columbus on versus Columbus on Saturday. But then they've got
Hold on a second. Is that good? Is it?
well,
Is that good?
it's better than the rest of the what I was going to say: Tampa, Edmonton, Colorado, LA. Like you know. Tampa's tough. Edmonton, Colorado, LA. You got to win these next two games against Chicago and Columbus so that you can get back to 3-5. Because all of a sudden, if you go on, you lose one of those games. Now you're 2-6. Then you lose two or three of the. Next thing you're 2-7. That's tough to make up, buddy, in this league. So I don't know. I don't get it. I think everybody's shocked by it.
What's crazy is they have 7 games. It's 7 games that they're six games,
Yeah.
6 games. They've only scored 14 goals.
Right. Right.
I mean, they've only given up 23 goals. So, I mean, that's still not even good. But in 6 games, that's 4 goals average, right? That's not
Yeah.
very good if you want to win. You're scoring 2 and giving up 4. That is a huge. No wonder why they're last place in that conference.
You know,
But
you speak about Winnipeg. I went to the game here Tuesday night in St. Louis. Winnipeg came in 5-0, won 3-2. Hellebuck played unbelievable. Blues didn't play well in the second period, and they had a 1-0 lead going in the second. Winnipeg. If Kyle Connor played in almost any other market than Winnipeg, he'd be so much more well known. This guy ripped one on his offside, top shelf. His shot, JR, is unbelievable.
it's funny you said that. Every time I watch Winnipeg, Kyle Connor does something that impresses me.
Yeah.
He never goes a game without doing something that literally jumps off the screen at you.
Right.
And to me, that's a sign of a quality player. That's a sign of a player that can be a star, or is a star. Would you consider Kyle Connor a star?
Yes, I would.
You would.
Yeah,
And if you probably ask 90% of the NHL fans, none of them would have heard of Kyle Connor.
No, it's unbelievable. It is. I think it's got to be because he plays in Winnipeg. It's the only thing I can think of because this guy is a natural goal scorer. He's a great two-way player. I'm watching him the other night. The kid's a stud, and if he was with a bigger market team, then he would be a bigger name in the NHL. But they've got a solid hockey team. And you and I talked about Scott Arniel taking over from Rick Bowness this year. Scott had been Rick's assistant there for a few years, very respected. That's just a good hockey team. Unfortunately, I read again a couple days ago, attendance is 11,000 again. Like, it's not good up there.
Well, it's not. No, it's not. And you got to look. Listen, I can't go politics again, but again, you got to look at what's happening in our countries.
Yeah, no, I know the economy
is shit. The economy is the interest rates up. Just to go buy a dozen eggs, people are having trouble with. Of course, they're going to have trouble paying these exorbitant amounts for these tickets that they're charging. And I don't know what the price is in Winnipeg, whether they have to charge a little bit more because their building is smaller, or if they try to keep it to a place where people can afford it so it fills up. But I do know their owner is an amazing person. He's an amazing guy that wants the best for the team. He wants the best for the city. He wants to entertain the fans. He wants to win a Stanley Cup. But it's the government's not helping
No, they're not.
the Winnipeg Jets at all.
No, they're not. And you're right. The Mark Chipman, the owner, is a phenomenal owner. The fans in Winnipeg are the best. Some of the best fans in the NHL. But they, just very quickly, you looked at this team. Scheifele, he's got 8 points. Ehlers, 8 points. Josh Morrissey on defense, 7 points. Cole Perfetti. Didn't they get Cole Perfetti in the Dubois trade from LA?
Yes.
Yeah, how's that working out? How's that working out for LA? 7 points. Neil Pionk, another defenseman, 7 points. But then to go down the list, Kyle Connor, Appleton, Lowry, Miller, Niederreiter, Velarde and Iafolo from LA. This is a good hockey team. And then you put Hellebuck in net, who won the Vezina last year. This guy's a stud, man. They've got a good hockey team. But anyway, I'm hoping that they start being able to draw more fans. So you know what? You played in the league. I always found October, the NFL is going on, World Series is going on. It really wasn't until baseball was done, and then really when football was done and the New Year started, that it was hockey, hockey, hockey. And that combined with the economy is probably why the attendance isn't, the best in Winnipeg, and I'm sure in a few other buildings as well.
It's funny. It's funny you made a comment like that. In talking with Timmy B, our producer here on the show, he made a very good point and why the NHL does certain things that it does. Yes, it is baseball season, World Series time. Yes, it is football season. But there's one other thing that just happened, and that was the start of the NBA season. And why would the National Hockey League, who has a great idea, by the way, of playing all 32 teams on the same day,
Yeah,
start them all the way in the beginning and play games all the way and just broadcast the hell out of hockey and let everybody see as many people as they possibly can and just have a flurry of hockey. And why do they do it on the same day that NBA basketball opens up? Like, can you be any more ridiculous? And I want to know whose bright idea was that to go up against the NBA's opening night to try to get the best ratings for the National Hockey League. I don't get it.
I don't get it either. It makes no sense. You can't explain it. It just doesn't make any sense. I was shocked when they did that. I don't know. Like I don't know. It's bizarre. But
obviously, the NBA or the NHL does not call the NBA schedule planners and say, "Hey, listen, what day are you guys? What day are you guys opening up? Because we're gonna make sure that there's only one game. There's only one game on Monday, right? One game, because you don't want to go up against Monday Night Football.
right.
Let's go 32 games so we can go up against the start of the NBA. By the way, you didn't see the NBA start on Monday, did you?
No,
No.
no. It doesn't make any sense. One last thing about the Winnipeg St. Louis game. Uh, I was watching that game. I was in the building here in St. Louis, and I see Robert Thomas go down and limp off and go off the ice.
Yeah, I saw he got hurt. That's
Yeah.
not good for St. Louis.
And then read today that he's got a fractured ankle. He's out for 6 weeks. So that is a big blow to that team because they have enough trouble scoring goals, and he really is the engine that drives that offense because of his passing ability. He's one of the best passers in the National Hockey League. So that's tough for him, and hopefully he'll get back healthy. Anthony Duclair, he's out 4 to 6 weeks with a lower body injury. So a few injuries going on right now. But before we forget, and we apologize to our faithful listeners, but Mr. Recchi had Wi-Fi problems in Miami. That's what happens when you're a 5-time Stanley Cup champion.
Miami Wi-Fi problems.
Hey.
Jesus, first world problems, right? First world problems.
Exactly. So
Jeez.
Rex, you know what? I texted the other day talking about Rex. I'm in Detroit last weekend, and after the game, we go back to a little sports bar beside the hotel. I'm getting a table set up for all 14 of our kids and the parents, and this guy comes over and puts his hand on my shoulder and he goes, "Hey, Pilsy, how are you?" And I turn around and I go, "Rex," and it's Mark Recchi. And so of course, I sat with him for a while and we had a beer and I met his son, Brendan, and he coaches the Pittsburgh Pens Elite 2012. His son's the same year as Bronson. And just talking to him and listening to the stories and then you forget, like, I know such a good player he was, but
dude, he was sick.
We'll talk about it when he comes on, but 1,652 games. Like you played 1363. I ref 1362. 577 goals, 956 assists, 1,533 points, and he played for 20 seasons, 23 seasons. He scored as the oldest one of the old. Yeah, he was the oldest player to score at 43 years old in a Stanley Cup final game. The oldest player to score at 43 years old. That's unbelievable. That was the year he won it with Boston, his last year in the league.
Yeah, I remember that. I was there
when they were playing Vancouver.
Yeah.
Incredible career, but just an incredible guy. Did you play? I didn't look it up. Did you play with Rex in Philly? You must have.
I did. He was one of my favorite teammates of all time. Mark Recchi and I are like this.
Are you?
We are extremely close. And he was one of my favorite players to watch. Not only just be a teammate of, but for a guy at his size, right, who wasn't the best skater. He had the shortest little stride.
Yeah, he did.
Right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
And he got his feet going so fast, and he got to where he needed to go, but he found a way to get open. He knew exactly where that puck was coming. He knew exactly where to put that puck. The brains on Mark Recchi are light years ahead of most hockey players. And, we've seen a slew of them in the National Hockey League over the years, guys that really their strength, their skating was their big time weakness. Mark Recchi was one of them. I mean, it wasn't the worst. He got going okay, but it didn't look pretty. It didn't look like graceful, like a Mike Modano or a Mark Messier, right?
Yeah, it's funny when you say that. I forgot about how he skated. He did
that choppy stride, right? Fast. It's like almost like a penguin skating, right? It's just like, bop, 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 bop. But I'm telling you what, his accuracy, the way that he could let a puck go, how fast he could get it off. I mean, how many goals you say? 577 goals.
577.
I mean, that is insanity for. And guess what? Guess what year he was drafted?
The 4th round.
What year?
I don't know off the top of my head.
1988. Same year as me.
Same year.
So again, here's a 577 guy. I'm 513. Teemu Selanne 600 and something. Mike Modano 540 something. Right? I mean, 542. What did Marchand 400?
Yeah.
Brindamore 400. I mean, that was
a sick.
Tony Amonte 400. Tony Amonte was fourth round also that year.
Who went first overall?
Mike Modano, right out of Prince Albert, right here.
Who went second?
Martin. Trevor Linden, who probably scored close to 400.
Man, that was an unbelievable draft year.
Yeah, it was. And then Curtis Lecision, defenseman, played for Quebec and Colorado for many years. Was very, very good defenseman, right?
How many guys that get drafted in the 4th round? First of all, there's probably none that have those stats. But I'd like to know how many guys that are drafted in the 4th round made it to the Hall of Fame. I'm gonna have to look that up someday.
Well, look up right now where Pavel Datsyuk was drafted. Because I know Pavel Datsyuk or Zetterberg.
I think it was Datsyuk. Wasn't he drafted in like the 6th round?
Yeah, I believe he was. You can look to see where Luc Robitaille was drafted. I mean, some of these guys that were drafted so late that just had unbelievable scoring careers.
Yeah, I was right. It was the 6th round. He was 171st overall in the 1998 NHL draft. That's unbelievable.
It's unreal. Look for Luc Robitaille. Where did Luc Robitaille go?
Lucky Luke. And you know what? That's probably why Recchi didn't go very higher in the 4th round, JR, because all the scouts probably said, he's not a great skater. Not a great skater.
And right? He's small.
He was 5'9", 185 pounds. He was my size. Like, that's unbelievable.
Luke 171 and 84.
That's unbelievable. Eh?
Yep. Yep.
Um,
That's crazy.
Listen, I want to talk about very quickly. Did you happen to see Brad Marchand's interview yesterday or today with the Boston media? So the other night they're playing Utah. Marshy makes a bad play, and Utah comes down and scores. And Jimmy Montgomery is just chewing him out and giving it to him. And
That's awesome.
exactly. There's two people I want to talk about. I want to talk about him and um, who's the other person? But anyway, Marchand goes. There's a lack of accountability these days because people can't handle the heat. You make a mistake like that, you deserve to hear about it. And he couldn't be more correct because we're raising a bunch of wussies. I'd like to say another word, but we're raising a bunch of wussies.
Bunch of entitlement.
Marchand gets it. He goes, I should have been chewed out. You guys, and he said, you guys in the media are making a bigger deal out of this than Jim and I. Oh, I know who it was. It was Nick Sealer and Torts yesterday because Washington took it to Philly, and Sealer and Torts are going at it. And today, typical. I love Torts. He says, you guys are making a bigger. This happens all the time. This player wants to win. I want to win. We got mad at each other, and Torts looked right at the camera. He goes, "I love Nick Sealer. I love Nick Sealer, but oh my God, if a coach comes down on a player now, I see it at all levels. If a coach comes down on a player, oh my God, he's being too tough on him, or I can't believe they're fighting. No, guess what? That happens. How many times did you get in a fight with your coach and tell him to f off, or in the locker room? Like it happened all the time.
And by the way, who in their right mind, if you do something wrong, or if you're lackadaisical, or you don't work, or you're doing something that hurts the team, who in their right mind thinks that that should go uncontested, or not, you know, or
Right.
not, you know, not I just, it's okay. Don't worry about it. The team, we'll lose this game. Don't worry about it. Everybody will love you. Like, where did that mentality come from?
Like,
How does that make people better? How does that make players better? How are you supposed to learn that mistakes, that the lack of hard work, the lack of consistency, the non-caring, the nonchalantness, the not being prepared, how how are you supposed to learn how to be better or learn to win if somebody can't bring to attention that you're doing it wrong,
I know.
and sometimes have a little bit of a heavier voice in doing it? It's, where did the shift happen and what caused that shift? Was it the fact that all computers and video games are where these kids grew up, so they had to take their losses from gaming that they were doing on camera, where they didn't have anybody tell them that they were bad, that they could say everything that they wanted to on a keyboard and didn't have anybody say anything back verbally
Right.
and look somebody in the eye? I don't understand it, man. I don't get it. I don't understand why yelling and screaming matters. And by the way, when all of a sudden did sticks and stones may hurt my well
Bones.
yeah, well, hurt my bones, but words will never hurt me, or
Yeah.
sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me?
Yeah.
Where did that go?
Well, you know what? And Smitty, our producer, just said participation awards started the downfall of all this, where everybody got a trophy of minor league baseball, hockey, whatever. Everyone got a medal. It's sickening. It's like,
Yeah, but when did it become so important to worry about everybody's feelings, right? Oh, you hurt my feelings. Okay. Is that my problem that I hurt your feelings, or is it the way that you think? Maybe I don't have the problem. Maybe it's you're the one that has the problem and you need to fix it. Um, that feeling stuff is all over the place. And you see people now, especially on social media, especially with some of these liberal laws, they're like, listen, we can't say this because we're going to hurt somebody's feelings.
No, you can't.
Wow, man, I'm telling you, and that's what we have in the league. I mean, it's rampant. I think it's in a lot of sports, soccer especially. I mean, you see what happens in soccer, but I
No,
don't know. It's good for Marchand to finish up this conversation. Good for Marchand
I
because
agree.
we need old school leaders to kind of show the way. And by the way, not everybody's like that.
No,
We can't carpet the entire league or
no.
carpet the entire generation, but for sure a majority of the generation has that mentality that is giving it a really bad name.
Who obviously the number one person that comes to my mind is when you played for Mike Keenan. But outside of Mike Keenan, who was a coach?
Daryl
Uh,
Sutter.
he was
Daryl Sutter was so tough. Kind of like because he was assistant coach under Keenan, so I think he learned a lot from Keenan. Also,
yeah,
had a lot of the same characteristics. But the Sutter brothers were tough. They were hard nosed farm boys, man, that played the game the right way. They played it hard. They
yeah.
played it with integrity. They played it with honor. They played it with hard work and determination and pride. Right? That's what they did. And Daryl didn't accept mediocrity. He knew what it took for him to get off the farm and get to the National Hockey League. All five of his brothers. So I mean, he was tough. I had Greg Schoenfeld was tough, like in your face tough, right? And physically was the stuff. He would beat the crap out of you if you stepped out of line. He almost did it to me.
He was a
You
big.
know, yeah. It's my I always say this, Mike, and I'll say it in my Hall of Fame speech in a quick way. Mike always yelled at you, but he yelled at you because he thought you could do better because you had better, not because he didn't like you. Not very often would he yell at you because he didn't like you. And by the way, if he didn't like you, it's because you consistently were lazy or you consistently didn't play the way that he wanted you to play or as good as you could have played. Consistency will get Mike Keenan on your bad side, on the wrong side.
Right.
But he'd always say to me, he goes, "Listen, I'm hard on you because I know you can handle it. I know you have better. I know you can do it." And so he made me believe in myself, which again, there's a way to be tough and there's a way to be tough with communication, but sometimes you just got to lay it right on the line, man. You just got to throw it at them and hope that the kid takes it constructively and moves on and becomes a better player.
I loved it yesterday. They asked Connor McDavid, "Who do you think should be the captain of the Four Nations Cup team?" He goes, "Is that a serious question?" He goes, "Sidney Crosby, like Sidney Crosby." Like,
Well, I think is there
is there anybody else? Like,
well, Connor McDavid would be a good call. I mean, I would.
you got to give it to Sid. Sid's the
Of
captain.
course, of course, you got to give it to Sid because of seniority and what he's already done. I
Give
mean,
Connor an A. Give him an A.
correct. Yeah,
No,
give Connor an A. Put Sidney. And I bet you, if you ask Connor McDavid, he's going to say the same thing.
yeah,
He's going to say Sidney Crosby should be the coach for sure. I read something that they're talking about Lafreniere being on that team. Do you think he's playing good enough? Because it's one of the things I wanted to talk about is how good the Rangers look. Right? I mean, we thought they would be good this year. They are 5-0-1. They are just rolling right now. Shesterkin is giving himself probably a good. He's showing why he's wanting more than 11 million right now. The way that he's playing too.
he's playing really well. You know what? I've been really impressed with Lafreniere. He's got in 6 games. He's got 3 goals, three assists. He's turned himself. 2 years ago, I wasn't so sure about this guy, Jr. First round draft pick. Just I didn't know if he was fast enough. If he had the skating ability to be a superstar in this league, but he has proved me wrong, and he's great to watch. Like I said, 3 goals, 3 assists. Is he good enough to be on that team? I don't know. I don't.
I say no, but I'm glad he's playing well. I mean, I like watching him play, and you like it when top picks turn out to play good hockey, right? So we
Yeah,
like
you never
that.
want to
Yeah.
see a guy fail like an Alexander Dag who was a bust. Like, but you talk about the Rangers. Artemi Panarin, 6 goals, 7 assists already in 6 games. He is lighting it up for the Rangers.
Insane, right? He's playing such great hockey, and I think he had a pretty damn good season last year. Did he get to the 100-point level last year?
I don't think so, but really close.
I think it was pretty close. If he didn't, it was pretty close. Um, they got great players on that team. Cheadle's a great player. Obviously, what Kreider's been able to do, a 50-goal scorer, can fill the net. There was somebody that said that at one time that Kreider is going to go in the rafters as the greatest Ranger of all time, and I'm like, what?
I love it. I love the guy. He's got 5 goals again in 6 games. Him and Joe Pavelski might be two of the best guys that could ever tip pucks in the net. Kreider, Kreider, first of all, his skating is unbelievable. I saw a video once where he was able to jump out of a pool in the water and land on the pool deck.
Yeah,
His,
yeah.
his leg strength is incredible. But like I say, he's got um, where is it here? He's got 5 goals already. You got Vinny Trocheck. He's got 7 points. Did you see the hit that Truba laid up?
Truba.
Oh my God. People are asking my opinion on social media, and I said it's a good clean hit. There's nothing wrong with it. And
By
obviously,
the way, you can't lay up a better hit
you
than
can't.
that.
It was textbook.
And not only was it textbook, but who did he hit? He must have hit a young guy. He must have hit a rookie or a second year guy or something like that. Because who comes across the blue line with the head down, looking to the middle of the ice? He just set himself up to get absolutely rocked and destroyed.
Yeah, you know what, we've lost a lot of that the last couple of years, and I love seeing that because we can't we can't get rid of that physicality. And if you're a player and you're playing the New York Rangers, you've got to be aware when Truba. We saw him in the playoffs last year. This guy is
He's a beast.
he's
He's
a
a beast.
man. And he took a lot of heat from Ranger fans last year. They wanted him traded over the summer, JR. They didn't want him to be the captain, which I don't understand. You know,
Is he the right captain for that team?
I think he is, but I'm not in the locker room, right? So I think he is. I think his teammates, obviously, if his teammates didn't think so, then Laviolette would have maybe made a change in the summer.
I mean, I'm pretty shocked with Kreider being there as long as he had and having the years that he's had that Kreider is not the captain, which I think, listen, it's not causing any turmoil on this team, that's for sure, which is positive. Um,
Can you pay a goalie 11 or 12 million dollars and have enough though, Jr. To
I had this conversation with Andrew Peters and Craig Rivet on After the Whistle last week. Um, I don't see why you can't. They're arguably the most important position on the team. We always say you can't win a championship without a good goaltender or without a hot goaltender. I mean, it is the number one most important position on a team because it's your last line of defense, right?
yeah.
It's your last line. We have seen goaltenders literally win games by themselves, right? I mean, not very often have we seen players win games by themselves. If they win a game by themselves, they probably got 2 goals or 3 goals, and the goaltender played a hell of a game and assisted on that win. But there's no way that if you're a logical person, you got McDavid making 13 million, you have Matthews making 13.5, you have Draisaitl making 14, you have all these guys that are very important on the offense making big money,
Mhm.
but the most important player on your team is the goalie. Why shouldn't they make 14? It doesn't make much sense.
See, I disagree to some of that. And what I disagree on is I think you obviously have to have a good goaltender, but to me, to win a Stanley Cup and a championship, you do not have to have the best goaltender or one of the top five goaltenders in the league. We saw it with Vegas.
Got to have a hot one.
Got to have a hot one. Absolutely. We saw it in Vegas 2 years ago. It was their fifth goalie that year in Aiden Hill.
Okay, let me ask you a question. Since you disagreed with me. Is a hot goaltender that gets you to the cup, is he not the best goaltender
No,
at the time?
at the time, but you can't. Yeah, but you can't pay somebody. Shesterkin aside, you can't pay. Aiden Hill was, I guess, was he the best goaltender at the time? But you're not going to give him an $11 million contract. Okay, so you pay for their past performance.
Which Shesterkin has.
Exactly. No, I'm not saying he does not deserve 11 million or 12 million, but all I know is and I brought this up before, when the Red Wings won their cups, they won it with Osgood, Vernon. These guys were on the bottom of the food chain when not the bottom, but they weren't getting paid like Fedorov and Yzerman and these guys, because Kenny Holland's rationale was, I'm going to build a good enough team around them that I don't need them to stop 45 shots a night. So I'm not saying he doesn't deserve it, but all I'm saying is if you give that much to a goalie, is there enough to go around to everybody else? I guess what the Rangers are hoping, and what Shesterkin is hoping as well, is that over the next, if we'll say that's a 7-8 year contract, that the salary cap goes up enough that, 11 million or 12 million might be a pretty good deal. Might be a pretty good deal for a guy like him.
Our boy Nick Neckney saying not winning at 12 million. I don't know, man. I don't know. I think it's going to take a very special goaltender to be able to acquire that contract, and I think Shesterkin is one of those guys who has the ability to. If Vasilevsky was doing what he was doing 5 years ago today, would you pay him 12 million?
Once again, I'm not saying he's not worth it, but what I am saying is I don't know if you pay a goaltender that much, there's enough money left over we look at the Vegas defense, and Shea Theodore just signed today, 7 years, $7.42 million. And because this guy's a stud. I can never understand why Anaheim gave up on him or got rid of him. But I look at the defense on Vegas, big, strong, but you don't need a guy to stop 45. You don't need a Shesterkin to win a Stanley Cup, because the defense is so big. They're so mobile. They keep everybody to the outside. So I think if you build a good enough team, you don't need the number one goalie in the league. Connor Hellebuck was the number one goalie in the league last year, and Winnipeg was out in the first round. So
yeah, no, I totally agree. I mean, but your chances of winning,
yeah,
are
better. Absolutely.
So you want to have the best opportunity to win. That's why you signed Draisaitl for 14.5 million.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
So,
but you know what? It's fun right now because I'm looking at Calgary. Calgary's 5-0-1. I never would have thought Calgary would be 5-0-1 after 6 games, JR. And I don't know if it's going to continue. Washington, our buddy Ovi, they're 5-1. And
but we talked about Ovi being able to break that record. He's got 2 goals. Last night was an empty net in 5 games.
He's going to have a lot of empty net goals.
Every time that net gets empty, that coach is putting him right on the ice.
100%.
He might get 15 this year, and 10 of them are going to be empty netters.
You know what I loved? I loved a quote from him yesterday. He said, when things aren't going well and I'm in a slump, you know who texts him?
Gretzky.
Uh-huh. Gretzky texts him, says, "Hey, oh, you're gonna be fine." I think Wayne would like to see him. I think Wayne would like to see him break the record. I think Ovi's been great for the league. Uh, when he does it, records are meant to be broken. Wayne's got a lot of records that'll never be broken, and I think he's okay with this one being broken. But it
This is
really
this is arguably the biggest one, though.
it
I mean,
really, yeah, it really resonated with me though when Ovi said that he gets text messages from Wayne Gretzky saying you're going to be fine, blah blah blah, like words of
hey,
encouragement.
listen, does that surprise you with Gretz? He literally is one of the greatest and one of the most stand up and greatest ambassadors of hockey. He cares about the game. He loves the game. He really wants people to do well. He wants the game to do well. He just represents himself so well on the stage, which is, and by the way, it's stuck because look how Sidney Crosby is. Look
Yeah,
how Connor McDavid is. All these guys that handled themselves the way that they did is because of Gretzky,
yeah, yeah.
literally.
No, exactly. And talking about Washington, there's this guy Dylan McIlrath. He's 32 years old, and he's primarily played. He's won a couple Calder Cups in Hershey. He's a big defenseman. He fought Delorier last night. Great fight. If you have a chance to watch it, great fight. At the end, I love Delorier because this McElrath's trying to stay in the NHL. He hasn't played a lot of games in the NHL, and Nick, Delorier smiles at him after, and you could tell like, hey, good job. But anyway, they interviewed McElrath afterwards. I think he's had 2 assists in the game, and he goes, it's pretty awesome. He goes, I'm sitting beside Ovi. He goes, I don't even think he knows who I am, but I'm just happy to be here. And I love hearing those stories of guys that have toiled in the minors for years that just hung with it, and the resiliency and the perseverance of them. I love stories like that, buddy.
Yeah, again, the guys who just play the game because they love the game and they're going to do anything to get there, and they do everything to get there, fighting. That they roll through the minors. Um, it's hard to play in the minors year after year after year after year and try to get a chance to get into the league. And once you get there, you don't want to go back. And
Right.
good for him and good for Delorier for aiding in his quest to stick around, because obviously when you do something like that, it catches the eye of the scouts, catches the eye of the coaches, it catches the eye of the GM, and I just I just feel bad for the Flyers. Like holy crap! Like I didn't see this thing coming. 31 goals against in 7 games. 31 goals against. I mean, there's only one team has worse goals against, and you know who that is?
No.
Colorado. What?
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. So, the Philadelphia Flyers have got to do something to get out of their own way right now, because obviously they're dealing with terrible goaltending. Their defensively is not doing the job, and they're not putting the puck in the net. I saw so many opportunities for them to score last night and literally whiffs. Like either they're squeezing the stick too tight, or they're too nervous, or the pressure's getting to them. It's not easy to be in Philadelphia when you're one
Oh,
and four.
no, it's not. But
Uh,
you know what? You know who I feel not maybe I'm not bad for because he's a professional hockey player and that this is his job, but I feel bad for Sam Harrison and a little bit for Danny Briere and that organization because they were put in a position because of what's going on with Carter Hart off the ice and his case pending back in Canada. They weren't prepared for this. I don't think any team would be. Carter Hart was their number one goalie, and all of a sudden he's out of the league right now, and they're having
yeah,
to rely on Sam Harrison and this Fedotov, the big Russian goalie. I think everybody was excited when this big Russian goalie came over, but maybe he might be better suited for the KHL because I don't think he's the answer for the Flyers. So,
well, Yeah, it's really unfortunate. One of my old teams, my old teams aren't doing real. My favorite old teams aren't really doing so good. Flyers in Chicago, they just can't seem to get out of their own way. Chicago started off playing well, but have since dropped a couple tough ones. Lost to Buffalo at home the other day. I do think that the kid Bedard has what 8 points, 7 or 8 points. He's trying to do his best to keep this team afloat, but he needs some help. But we're sorry for everybody with Mark Recchi, who's supposed to be on this week, but we are very happy that he is going to fix his Wi-Fi this week, and he's going to get an actual person out there to fix it, and he will be on next week on Wednesday, right here on Snipes and Stripes on NoFilter.net. Thanks to Whiskey in the Wild, thanks to Bet Online, thanks to Protective Neck Guards, and of course my buddy Tim Peel. Tim, take it away, and we'll sign off and see everybody next week.
Sounds good, bud. Listen, enjoy your time in Canada. You're always willing to do things for charity. I'm sure that junior team up there appreciates a Hall of Famer coming in and speaking to them and being a part of their fundraiser tonight. Enjoy some Canadian beer, and we will talk to you next week, buddy.
Sounds good, eh? Take care, buddy. We'll
Good.
see everybody next Wednesday. Next Wednesday, right here on NoFilter.net. It's Snipes and Stripes. We love you all. Take care.